What's up guys, Lou here for Golf Avenue. Did you know that our comparison videos are by far our most watched videos? They also happen to be the most requested videos by you guys at home. With that in mind, we thought it'd be the perfect time to tackle one of the most highly requested comparison tests to this day. That's right, we're taking on one of golf's biggest brands as we're going to compare one of TaylorMade's latest release against a driver from 20 years ago. TaylorMade drivers have taken quite the leap over the last 3 years with the introduction of the carbon club face, so we thought it'd be the perfect occasion to see just how far their drivers have come. This experiment will be representative of the performance of the average golfer with these clubs, and that should let you know how much of a difference the average golfer will see between a 20-year-old driver and a driver that was just released this year. Will the differences be groundbreaking or will they be disappointing? Only one way to find out, it's to stick around. So let's get to it. Just before we head out and go pick up our clubs right behind me, we just wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for subscribing and commenting on our videos. You guys really help keep the channel going and we truly appreciate it. But there's something we've noticed over the last few videos, and that's most of our watchers are not subscribed to our channel. But don't worry, subscribing to Golf Avenue's channel is much easier and a whole lot cheaper than becoming a member at a private club. We're not exclusive, we won't charge you annual fees through the roof, and the best part is, there's no bar bill. So what are you waiting for? Join Golf Avenue's community today by subscribing using that button right below down there. Now that this is covered, let's go pick up our clubs and get started with our experiment. All right, so our first model will be the TaylorMade QI10 released earlier this year. It comes packed with all the latest innovation from TaylorMade. At more than $600, you have to wonder if it's really worth your while for something like this. Our comparison test is going to help with that. And also, it's time to take a look at what we're going to compare this driver to. So for our second driver in this test, we're going 20 years ago in time with the TaylorMade R540 XD. This driver definitely isn't packed with all the technology that the QI10 has, or is not nearly as big in terms of size for the club head, but we still want to see how much of a difference 20 years can make when it comes to driver innovation. So let's sit down behind our desk, take a closer look at the differences between those two drivers, and then we're going to properly test them on our simulator. All right guys, we're back behind the desk to take a closer look at the differences between our two drivers. Right away, the club head size difference should strike you. The R540 is a pretty decent sized club head compared to maybe Persimmon drivers, but when it comes to modern drivers, the QI10 has a much bigger club head. The R540 doesn't quite cut it when you come with 460cc club heads like the QI10. The other thing that's pretty noticeable is the materials that were used to build them. One quick look at the QI10 will tell you that carbon was used a lot, titanium was used, and other materials that give it a nice classy, shiny and glossy finish to make this driver. The R540 XD was used on the golf course for many years, but you can still notice that titanium was much more prioritized in the build of this one, and carbon was maybe not as popular back in the days, but it's still part of the build. The other aspect that makes these two golf clubs so different, in the case of the QI10, you have all the latest tech that comes from TaylorMade. That includes the carbon club face technology that has been featured on their last 3 models, so that's Stealth, L2, and obviously the QI10. You also have the twist face technology that has been featured on drivers going back to the M4 driver in 2018. And you also have this nice, shiny, adjustable weight at the back of the club head that is designed to help enhance launching angles at impact. The other signature technological perk that you'll find in the QI10 from TaylorMade is the True Slot Speed Pocket, designed to strengthen the club face of the club. So that means that even off-center strikes have a better chance of producing high ball speed and better ball trajectories. On the other hand, the R540 is totally limited when it comes to technology. The only small technological perk that we could find was this little speed pocket, I'm guessing, at the back of the club head. This is definitely designed to help launching condition, launch the ball higher at impact. But if you guys have more information about it at home, please let me know down in the comments. Now that we know that the QI10 has a clear advantage when it comes to technological perks, let's see how that translates to performance as we head to the Golf Avenue TrackMan Power Simulator. All right guys, so we've made it to the sim. We're gonna first try out our QI10 driver, and then we're gonna look at the R540 XD. As you can see, the QI10 comes with a Ventus TR blue shaft. It's the stock shaft that it comes with. Most QI10s that will be offered on the golfavenue.com will be featured with the Ventus TR blue shaft. And as for the TaylorMade R540 XD driver, we also got the stock shaft on this one. It's an older model that obviously is not in production anymore. It's the R500 series from TaylorMade. So in the case of both drivers, we'll be able to compare the stock shaft, and then we'll have a better idea of what you're getting when you're buying from Golf Avenue. Oh, and one more thing before we get started, I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. The ball that we'll be using to test these drivers is the TaylorMade TP5X 2024. We're gonna look at all this good stuff and finally compare a 20-year-old driver against a brand new one So enough with the chatting, and let's get to it. All right, so first up, TaylorMade QI10 2024 release. Let's see how it performs and how it feels. So the QI10 driver, a couple of things right away. In my opinion, it's got a pretty strong draw bias. In terms of forgiveness, it might not be what I was expecting, even on off-center strikes. I'd hit a few slices, a few hooks, and only a few strikes that managed to stay pretty straight. There are many things that can explain why I didn't hit the perfect shots, but overall, this club, I'll say that the ball does come off the club face very fast. You don't need to put a lot of speed behind that swing. The ball will just pop right off of it. And the other thing is you will get nice high flying trajectories. These high launch angles will help you produce longer strikes. They'll place you in better position for your approach shot. Overall, my impressions on the QI10, my first impressions, it is what you'd expect out of a brand new golf club. Maybe not as forgiving as I would have expected, but of course it's not the most forgiving model of the line. You still got the QI10 Max, which is the utmost forgiving model out of all the QI10s. But for a basic model, the QI10 is pretty forgiving already. Distance-wise, you know what you're getting. It's a bomber. And of course, workability, well, it's not a priority with this one, but I was still able to shape the ball both ways, even if it wasn't always on purpose, if you will. So now that we've seen what we can expect out of a brand new driver, let's see how that 20-year-old driver matches up to that one. All right, so let's get my first impressions of the TaylorMade R540 XD. Still holds up, no joke about it. It's still a great driver. It feels great in my hand. The shaft, I'll agree, is a little outdated. It feels a bit wobbly, even though it's a stiff shaft, but the club head is amazing. Like I could feel it anywhere throughout my swing. I was able to easily locate any impact on the club face. That's the big perk of it. Full titanium club head. Distance-wise, there's no doubt about it. I didn't feel like I was swinging nearly as hard with the QI10, and I was producing clearly longer strikes and definitely in better positions when I was able to find the fairway. The big downside with this one, I would say the launch angle was a little lower. That's probably like the 0.5 difference that there was between the two clubs. Would I put it in my bag over the QI10? If I had access to both clubs at the same price, I'd probably go with the QI10 just for the extra bit of forgiveness it'll give you and the extra bit of distance that the hot club face might provide you, especially the carbon club face. But the R540 is not to be met. For a titanium club head, it still holds up very well. It's surprisingly forgiving for such a small club head profile. Only downside I would give it is that the shaft is not ideal. It's not too surprising that it's maybe not up to par compared to new ones. All right, guys, so now that I've given you my first impressions from both clubs, we're gonna head back to the SC, but just before that, I'm gonna test them a little more, try to push them to their limits to see how much data we can gather from both of them. And then we're gonna go to the SC, sit down behind our desk, and break down all those numbers for you to let you know which club is truly the best and how much of a difference 20 years can make. All right, guys, we're back behind our desk at the fulfillment center, and it's time to take a closer look at the comparison between those two drivers. First up, that might surprise a lot of you at home, but the total distance between those two drivers is almost identical. I know, right? It's crazy. But when we take a closer look at their numbers and the overall performance of each driver, we're able to see a whole lot of difference that tell the full story about how these two clubs perform and how they would still perform to this day. So let's first look at the carry distance numbers to explain a bit of the backstory for each of these drivers. The R540 XD was 10 yards shorter in terms of carry than the QI10. So how did it achieve the same total distance? Well, let's look at the numbers. Right away, the launch angle of the R540 XD was a full degree lower than the QI10, and the spin rates were also a bit lower as the R540 XD produced 300 RPMs less than the QI10. This combination makes for the perfect cocktail that when your ball hits the ground, it'll be sure to roll out. And roll out it did for the R540 XD as it had almost 40 yards of roll once it hit the ground. Based on the results we got, you're probably wondering what would have happened with the R540 XD if it got the same launch angle. Well, considering the R540's club head speed was a full mile per hour faster than QI10, we can probably conclude that the carry distance would have been a bit better or at least identical as the QI10 when it comes to the R540 with a single degree of launch higher. However, the total distance of the R540 XD would have probably been shorter than the QI10 in this scenario because the RPMs and the spin rate of the R540 were reduced compared to the QI10. This means that if the ball was going to come in at a higher angle, in the case of the R540 XD with a higher launch angle, the rollout would not have been as massive. The R540's XD performance is not due to getting a faster swing speed, it's because it produced the best launch conditions possible for this test. We saw it from our test, the QI10 managed to produce the higher ball speed numbers despite the R540 XT getting the faster club head speeds. So all of this was to say that you don't necessarily need to spend the big bucks on the latest and greatest. Sometimes Old Trusty will do the job just as well. But if you feel that the time has come for a change and that you need to say goodbye to Old Trusty, well, don't forget, you can always trade in your clubs with Golf Avenue and get a discount on your next great golf club. We truly hope you enjoyed this comparison review, and if you did, make sure to head to the link in the description and see the complete blog article that we dedicated to our comparison test. And before we let you go, we simply wanted to remind you to like this video and subscribe to Golf Avenue's channel for more quality golf content. We've got plenty of comparisons tests coming your way, but we want to know what you guys want to see. So be sure to let us know down in the comments, and who knows, your idea could be our next video. So get to it, let us know what you want to see, and for Golf Avenue, I've been Lou. Until next time,